And this may not be a homicide. It could be a drug overdose. That was a party house. And the Sunday before the body was found, they had a big party, and the neighbors were complaining, and we talked to neighbors who were saying they always had parties there. So theoretically, there could have been something that happened at a party where she took something she shouldn't have or whatever and died. And then they thought, fuck, what are we going to do with this?
Thus, some of the most useful information we've received lately, in my opinion, is that the cops have the rental home security videos from David's residence. I have it, they have formally collected it, and they are most likely looking over it at the now. In the David probe, the LAPD is sitting on a possible gold mine. Surveillance footage from the singer's rental house in the Hollywood Hills that might show whether Celeste Rivas was there before her unexplained death. According to TMZ, during a search warrant last month, police confiscated all of the video from the house's several security cameras. Thus, we have a camera at the front door, another monitoring the garages, and it appears that there were other cameras in the backyard. CCTV would have recorded David killing Celeste in his home and then dragging her out the door, through the garage, or perhaps into the backyard. They would have captured her on camera even if part of the lights had turned on, since he had to kill her in the house. I believe this is the breakthrough we need. Well, perhaps. He might not have killed her in the house. In the automobile, he might have killed her. Suppose, however, that he murdered her within the house, had to remove her from the house, which would have been captured on camera, unless they broke the cameras, covered them up, or disabled them in some way. The problem is that if it had been obvious on the camera that he was carrying her body, or a black bag at around 3 in the morning, wouldn't they have already arrested him? CCTV would have shown that he killed her, dragged her body to his car, drove off, and then strolled back, all of which were captured on camera. He would currently be incarcerated. However, he isn't. It leads me to believe that perhaps nothing was caught by the CCTV, and that he has been free for more than a month. After it all occurred, now a private investigator was employed by the owner of the rental house David was residing in. Since the police may not provide any information because, well, they are the police, we should expect some straightforward and unambiguous answers from this private investigator after the case is concluded. It is not their responsibility to inform the public of facts. But if this private investigator performs a wonderful job and their case is resolved, he can tell us everything in the end. Since LAPD hasn't made any public statements since Celeste Rivas' decaying body was discovered in David's Tesla 6 weeks ago. The owner of the property, in the Hollywood Hills that David was renting, has hired a private investigator to investigate what transpired inside. Here are some fans' responses to the cassettes being formally confiscated. There is a reason why LAPD maintains this information confidential. The driver of the Tesla is now positive that he was captured on camera. That's the problem though. Was the residence the scene of the murder? At the time of the murder, was the Tesla parked in front of the house? Since they reside there and are aware that the house is equipped with CCTV, I believe the person who did it must be really stupid for leaving with Celeste's body in a bag. This case is supported by technological proof, such as the Tesla, Discord, and these tapes. I hope they're taking their time and properly reviewing everything. Now, I believe that this is the reason why no one has been arrested yet or why the case is proceeding so slowly. They need to review all of his messages on Twitter and Instagram, as well as those on Celeste's Instagram and Twitter, as well as all of their messages collectively, as well as emails, CCTV, Discord, and everything else. Additionally, they must formally source it from the websites or apps, which could take some time. According to some, it may have been tampered with. I hope this marks the beginning of the case's resolution. The formal evaluation of all the footage will undoubtedly take a long time. It's made even more difficult by this. In the age of artificial intelligence, picture a lawyer charging the homeowner of altering the video. They could probably check to see whether it has been tampered with. They can demonstrate that he lacks access. I see no problem with the landlord, as you may already be aware. The homeowner does not actually have access to the CCTV. Thus, other members of David's circle may have a problem. In a prior interview, he informed us that he offers everything to the residents of the house, and they have access to the security company and the security footage. Thus, it is invisible to the homeowner. I suppose it makes sense that he stated that he doesn't want to have access to it so that people won't believe he is spying on them, but it implies they might theoretically remove it. It shouldn't be a huge concern, though, because I assume they have backups and such. You may watch public traffic cameras in Los Angeles. The neighborhood where the property is located has about 29 streets, stoplights, and other features. They have video. All they're doing is connecting the gaps in the timetables. Therefore, even if the CCTV doesn't record anything from David's house, the neighbors have ring cameras, traffic signals are in place, the streets most likely have CCTV, etc. The neighbors' cameras must have caught something. Then, that indicates that either no one was visible on video, the quality was poor, the person or people were identified and given good grounds for being there, or they were unable to be identified because of poor quality or night vision. Perhaps there's nothing worth seeing on the cams. However, it might depict Celeste departing independently. That's the problem. I believe they would have made an arrest if it was evident that something had occurred and it was captured on CCTV. Yes, or perhaps the police are simply holding out. Before making the arrest, they are exercising patience and assembling a strong case. I'm not sure. Please share your ideas in the comments section below. Some individuals now believe that he will turn himself in. It's giving he intends to give himself up, but he wants to sell everything he owns to avoid giving his family any compensation. In case you were unaware, David moved his Texas house into his mother's name. You may be wondering why now. According to what this individual just stated in his tweet, if he is found guilty of the murder, they or Celeste's family may sue him in civil court and receive a sizable sum of money, as well as some of his possessions or their worth. Thus, such things they cannot, however, sue him for it, since in theory, it is not his if he transfers it to his mother's name. It's possible that you've seen this with soccer players, or at the very least, football players, or athletes in general. They will put their mother's name on their bank accounts, automobiles, houses, and other property. Therefore, in a legal sense, they have nothing when they are sued or divorced. Everything is in their mother's name.
We have a new update on this entire David situation that makes him look even more guilty than he already does. So in a new article from TMZ, it states that up at the top, David is making some real estate moves as cops investigate the passing of Celeste Rivas, who is the body that was discovered in his Tesla. Then at the bottom it states that he transferred 2 of his Texas homes to his mother. The article also goes on to state that this information was discovered in new legal documents obtained by TMZ. It also says the singer transferred the deeds of 2 Houston area residences he owns under a trust to his mother. Now it's very clear what David is doing. He is transferring his assets to his mother, so if a lawsuit comes up and he gets potentially sued, they can't take anything from him because nothing is under his name. It is under his mother's name, which they cannot take from her. I just feel like this is very telling, and I also feel like this is something an innocent person would not be doing, and it just really makes David look guilty. And he's just trying to save his assets in case he's taken to court and whatnot. So very telling once again. I'm curious to know your thoughts about all this.
And then we got a bit of an interesting one here. The DA, which is the district attorney, says he doesn't have the case yet. So let me play you guys a clip.
Where are we at with this Celeste Rivas Hernandez investigation? A lot of people are interested in this.
It is currently under investigation.
Is David a suspect? Are there any suspects that you guys have on a list that you're keeping tight to vest? Is there?
So we don't discuss suspects or the points in a continuing investigation. When and if that case is presented to the DA's office and we make a decision on it, I'll make sure you're one of the first to know.
Thank you.
Indeed, he did not provide us with much. He acknowledged the case, but he gave us a strange look when we inquired. Is David a suspect? He gave a slight nod, but not a true one. I'm not sure, but he had said, I'll play the clip on screen again. It's a little strange. Nathan H. Hochman, the district attorney for Los Angeles County, has stated that his office has not yet been given the case, so he is not yet responding to inquiries regarding the David Celeste Rivers probe. At a news briefing on Wednesday regarding an unrelated matter, our photographer asked Nathan for an update. Hochman's only statement was, it's a continuing investigation. When our photographer brought up the singer, the county's chief prosecutor continued to avoid discussing potential possibilities like David or anybody else. Look, it's obvious that the police are keeping a low profile. I have no idea why. Most likely because there are a lot of unknowns because the case is so large and involves such a well-known person. It's more than simply a murder. It's trafficking and grooming. I believe David is preparing to come clean now that we have more theories and conjecture. You shouldn't have to change the ownership of your homes from his name to his mother's name if you're innocent. In my opinion, for example, why must you do all that? I think he's preparing to confess and attempting to transfer all of his assets to his mother's name if you're so-called innocent. Yes, I am unsure of that. Legally, I'm rather certain he's trying to exercise caution. I don't think he's doing anything more than what his lawyers have advised. No, he won't readily confess, and any attorney would advise against it. Transferring property under a microscope is a fairly typical occurrence. Many wealthy people do this to safeguard their riches. Yes, I don't think he'll turn himself in, unless the police have urged him to come in and turn himself in, or have shown him information that essentially says, yeah, you're cooked. There is no incentive for him to do so. Nevertheless, you might as well put him on trial at that point because you're already doomed if you're going to receive a life sentence, or possibly even the death penalty. I find it absurd that he is currently doing nothing except sitting at home playing I simply wonder where he is at this moment. Where on earth is he? He remains in Los Angeles. Has he returned to his parents in Texas? He may have left the country. I doubt it. Really? Because he is being investigated. I believe that the Border Patrol or the police would stop him if he attempted to leave the country. Yes, as other Reddit users have stated, it's crazy that there has been no update on the case after a month. I am unable to determine if the lack of news is due to the case having stagnated and not progressing, or to the fact that they are constructing a strong case and are prepared to apprehend David. For example, David's lawyer has remained silent. David has remained silent. The LAPD has only provided us with a vague statement that reads, "Yep, we know Celeste Rever has died and we're investigating it," but nothing else. Before we wrap up the video, I'd like to show you all this TMZ clip from their recent live feed. In case you were unaware, the man who will be on screen shortly is Harvey LePay, the creator of TMZ. David's lawyer is one of his close sources at TMZ. You are all aware of how TMZ is. Everybody is known to them. They are all knowing, and now he's implying that perhaps Celeste dead. This isn't a homicide after all, which would explain why no one has been arrested or a suspect identified. Perhaps they were afraid of Celeste dead since, in theory, they are responsible for her. Because they didn't want a 13-year-old girl dead in their home, they were alarmed and hid her body. Of course, David is still a PDF file, a trafficker, a groomer, and so on. Of fact, he most likely relocated the corpse, but it's possible that he spared her life. I don't know. Please share your opinions in the comments section. I'll play the video for you all. Be cautious though, as this Harvey 11 person is good friends with David's attorneys. In order to make it appear as though David didn't do it, he might be paid to disseminate this agenda, this false information, or these theories. Just keep it in mind, you know.
Talk about it. Yeah, I do have something, but I just can't talk about it. There are certain things, I'll tell you if I know something and if I don't, and if I can tell you, I will. But I'm not able to do this story, and it's complicated why, but I just can't say.
Do you know why it's complicated now, or no?
I'm gonna give you a guess.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a guess. No matter what happened, and this may not be a homicide, it could be a drug overdose. And I'll give you an example. That was a party house. And the Sunday before the body was found, they had a big party there. I'm not saying that's when this happened, but they had a big party there, and the neighbors were complaining, and we talked to neighbors who were saying they always had parties there. It was a party house, it was really noisy. So she's, this 14-year-old, she's in the mix in these parties. So theoretically, there could have been something that happened at a party where she took something she shouldn't have or whatever and died. And then they thought, fuck, what are we gonna do with this body? It could have happened without him even being there. So that's a theory, right? It doesn't make sense to me. He's gonna put her in his car and park it on Doheny Drive, which is a busy residential street, knowing it's going to get towed, because I used to live on Doheny Drive, and there are street cleaners that come up, and they ticket your car if it's parked there on street cleaning days, and they will tow it if it's there too long. And why would he put a body in a car and then go on tour knowing that the car is going to get towed and somebody's going to find the body? Logic tells me he did not put this body in that car.
Yeah.
That's what logic is telling me. Whatever happened before, it makes no sense to me that David put Celeste's body in his car, parked it on Doheny Drive near his house, and then left to go on tour. Makes no sense.
Please share your ideas in the comments section below. What time do you believe Devil will be taken into custody? Is he going to be captured at all, or will he escape? Because, well, nothing has happened in a month. To be honest, I completely forgot that this was all going on. I haven't created a video on this in around 2 weeks, so I was checking in to see if anything had happened. However, I was busy with my other channels and simply other films. So nothing's been happening. I recall spending the entire day on Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok when the case initially surfaced. I was really engrossed in this, but now that nothing has happened, I'm still curious about the case. But it's difficult to stay engaged when there's nothing to investigate, think about, or look into. So, I hope you all had fun, be careful, and I'll see you all at the next